Rico.
Mitt Romney.
Mitt Romney is not a master of the mugshot, just so you know, Rico, just for the record. Okay. But I got a really fascinating story, and we have talked about this last week about this. And so I found a story that the Cato Institute put together, and I feel like it gives it a good description about this. And we're going to talk about the States Act 2.0, you guys, would make federal government more in sync with the states and the people on marijuana. That's right. December 7th, 2023, Representative Dave Joyce, Republican from Ohio, joined four colleagues: Earl Blumenauer, Democrat out of Oregon; Brian Mast, Republican out of Florida; and Lori Chavez, Republican out of Oregon, and Troy Carter, Democrat from Louisiana, introduced a revised version of the Strengthening the 10th Amendment through Entrusting States, better known as the States Act. And its name implies the bill seeks to bring U.S. marijuana policy more in line with the 10th Amendment and federalism. The 10th Amendment states, and this is a quote, you guys, "The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively, or to the people." That's the end of the 10th Amendment, you guys. The bill, which some call the States Act 2.0, removes marijuana as a substance covered by the Federal Controlled Substances Act. This means marijuana will no longer be on the Drug Enforcement Administration's list of controlled substances. While the Biden administration has been open to the idea of rescheduling marijuana, the States Act would deschedule it, a move we have all long advocated for. It would also federally decriminalize people using, selling, or transferring marijuana if it is legal in their state, territory, or tribal reservation, and if they comply with state regulations. Moreover, it allows for interstate commerce of marijuana, you guys. That is right. That's the big one right there. The legislation states, in general, no state or Indian tribe may prohibit the transportation or shipment of marijuana through the state or the territory of the Indian tribe as applicable, if the originating and destination states or territories permit as applicable the manufacture, production, possession, distribution, dispensation, administration, or delivery of marijuana. The bill authorizes the federal government to regulate and track interstate marijuana commerce to make sure the commerce remains between jurisdictions where it is legal, and the bill also removes existing federal obstacles to marijuana retailers' financial transactions involving financial institutions by declaring that federal law will not consider transactions that are compliant with state laws to be drug trafficking, and such transactions will not be subject to the part of the Internal Revenue Service Code that addresses revenue and expenses connected to federally prohibited drug sales. That would basically mean the removal of 280E for anyone that doesn't understand that. The bill authorizes the FDA, the Food Drug Administration, to regulate marijuana as it does other non-prescription and prescription drugs, as well as tobacco products. While I believe the FDA and the drug regulatory system need drug reformation, that is a matter for a separate discussion, they say. The legislation also maintains a federal prohibition on the sale of marijuana to people under the age of 21 and on the distribution or sale of marijuana and transportation safety facilities such as truck rest areas on highways. These are both matters of which Congress should defer to the states. When Congress repealed alcohol prohibition in 1933, it respected states' rights to regulate and prohibit alcohol use and commerce within its borders, and the States Act exhibits the same federalist perspective. After 1933, several states continued to prohibit alcohol within their boundaries. In 1966, Mississippi became the last state to end alcohol prohibition. Still, many Mississippi counties remained dry until 2020, when Mississippi Governor Tate Reeves signed a bill legalizing alcohol possession in all state counties, and by now 46 states have passed laws that legalize or decriminalize marijuana or marijuana-based products to some degree and under some circumstances. The States Act respects states' rights to prohibit, legalize, or regulate marijuana, mostly from the federal government interface, and the bill also allows for a federal excise tax on marijuana to help fund a framework that supports critical components such as proper administration and oversight, consumer safety protections, and enforcement. Several states that have legalized adult use marijuana have imposed exorbitant marijuana taxes along with erroneous regulations on retailers which have increased the price of consumers and driven them to the cheaper black market. As I have written here, the unintended consequences of excessive taxation are weakening the legal market in favor of the black market and lower government revenues. Notably, the authors of the States Act seem aware of this, and the legislation states the federal excise tax should be low enough to not exacerbate the level of taxation by states, thereby avoiding the pyramid effect of adding federal taxes on top of high state taxes. States Act 2.0 significantly improves the original version, which its bipartisan support, and with 70% of American adults supporting marijuana legalization, the bill provides an excellent opportunity for Washington politicians to catch up on the people within this issue. And this is Jason Beck reporting for the High at 9 News. What do you guys think of this States Act 2.0, and will it be a go?
I like most of it.
How the rest of you feel, but I feel like this is the best possible proposal I've seen so far.
This is not the best possible proposal so far. The best possible proposal so far is the States Reform Act that Nancy Mace has introduced, because that has a super low excise tax rate and would deschedule cannabis and also open up interstate trade.
Well,
I do like this bill, though. But because they did not stipulate what the excise tax is, they just said it should be low. I kind of wonder about that. So this is getting a strong second place in my vote, but I would totally support this. I would vote for it, and I would campaign for it and endorse it.
Jay, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't this bill based upon Nancy Mace's legislation?
It's very possible that it is based around it, but what it really is a reversion of the States Act, and the States Act previously hampered down commerce at state lines and whatnot. So it is a evolved version of the States Act.
Yeah. So I agree with you, and I agree with Mandy. I think so thus far, Nancy Mace and what this has morphed into now is the best legislation that we have currently. Mm-hmm. It's not great, it's not perfect, but coming out of the federal government and really coming out of the Senate and the House, we're not getting really good federal legislation. Most of like the stuff that Cory Booker had, the stuff that Schumer had, none of those blanketed, none of those let out people from prison. It left it up to the courts. It decided certain charges could get out and certain charges couldn't. It was in the justice aspect of those other bills, I could not support them because it allowed certain people who were incarcerated for cannabis to get out, and others still had to go petition the court, and others still would have had to remain in there and do their time. So I'm not going to support anything that leaves anyone in prison for cannabis. So that's where, as far as the justice aspect of the States Act and this States Act 2.0, I 100% support. I also like the fact that they're leaving this up to the states in the majority of the bill. Mm-hmm. There are some federal regulations that are triggered. We don't like those, but it's whatever. If it's a compromise to get to where we need to go, I think it's a compromise that we need to make because it gives so much power to the states, and in the same aspect, it allows us still to have interstate commerce, and it makes places like Nebraska not be able to say, "Hey, you guys can't transport even through my state," or "Hey, you guys can't come through this airspace," or whatever they would come up with those, mindless laws they would come up with.
The craziest part is that the Commerce Clause is what got all 50 states to join the union in the first place, is to be able to use the federal road system. And so that's really what we're fighting for, is to be able to say, hey, you know what, if we don't want to have weed in Kansas, that's fine, but we shouldn't be prohibited from transporting it through Kansas to get it to Ohio.
Yeah, I think I think it's good on the surface. We'll see how much gets stripped out of it when it heads over.
Oh boy,
to whatever.
There we go.
I'm
was waiting for that.
We'll
one.
See.
He's right. Rico's right. By the time this gets to the finish line, this could look nothing like it does right now.
Yeah, and the other thing I want to say, like nothing medical was mentioned in it, and nothing really helping out communities was mentioned in it at all. So just remember that.
Rico, you're right. You're right there. In the article, it didn't state that. If it is a vamp of Nancy Mace's bill, it does have all that included into it. I haven't looked at the 2.0 version, so I can't really comment on it knowledgeably. So but I do know if it's based on the foundation of Nancy Mace's bill, it does include all those criminal justice aspects and social justice aspects of it. So hopefully they included those. If they didn't, that's a big miss.
When she revised it before, like this version, when she revised it, she actually did strip out all the community stuff, and then she stripped out all of the stuff pertaining to federal charges and shit like that. It was just strictly business. So like I think they're going forward with the business angle on it, which I mean it is what it is. And this is the best piece of legislation I've seen. And if you have like shout out to Lori, whatever her name is, the one Republican that's co-signing on this one.
What are you talking
brave
about?
enough to co-sign?
This is Dave Joyce's bill. He's a Republican from Ohio.
No, there's a Republican on it too.
Dave Joyce is a Republican.
Hold on.
Easy.
Brian Mast, and Lori Chavez DeRemer. Shout out to the Republicans actually co-signing
she's a Republican from Oregon.
Bill.
She's a Republican.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. In the House, like actually getting Republicans to co-sign something with the Democrats is absolutely unheard of. So shout out to
100%, Rico. 100%.
Yeah, without a doubt.
See, I'm trying to give throw you people a bone.
It's about
Jason,
time. Adam, can we get an elephant, please? Can we get an elephant? There we go. And I guess
we really should, we really do need to highlight when Republicans step out there, because listen, there's not a lot of cover for them. So when they step out there, we really should. A lot of people want to say, they flip-flopped or they did this and point out why they're doing it or all that. Listen, that doesn't matter. They're coming over to help us with our cause. We should welcome that, embrace the diverse opinion on how we should get our ship to where it needs to go and keep it going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, nothing in life is binary. It's not just one thing or the other. So anybody completely going with Republicans or completely going with Democrats, there's nothing patriotic or democratic about what you're doing. All you're doing is promoting tribalism and promoting a bunch of bullshit that makes everybody hate government. We need to get with it. We need more compromise from the top down, straight up.
Tell that binary comment to the Biden administration, but
don't start. Oh my God.
Nonetheless.